Hello, I am Joel Bloom at New Jersey Institute of Technology. We pride ourselves on being part of the Newark community and its advancements in technology, the economy, and the growth of the city. That's why we are very proud to partner with the CAUCUS Educational Corporation to produce Newark at the Crossroads right here on the NJIT campus. We hope you enjoy this special series.
Funding for this special edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato at NJIT has been provided by NJIT, New Jersey Institute of Technology, Prudential Financial's Global Communications Department, United Airlines, TD Bank, PSE&G, committed to improving New Jersey's economy and strengthening its communities, Verizon Communications, and by the FIDELCO Group. Promotional support provided by NJ Biz, all business, all New Jersey, and by Commerce Magazine.
This is One-on-One.
When you first heard that they were doing Charlie Rose and Gayle King, didn't you go, what?
People like laughing at others, so I don't mind if the other is me.
See, you go right into the character. That's what it is.
I'm bringing families together a half an hour each week. Man, I'm doing something special.
And so I do feel successful.
Hi, I'm Steve Adubato. Welcome to NJIT. This is One-on-One at NJIT, part of a series we're calling Newark at a Crossroads. We are honored to have Barry Ostrowsky, who is the President and Chief Executive Officer of Barnabas Health, and we're talking big picture healthcare issues. But full disclosure before we do that, Barry serves on the board of public television here in the state of New Jersey.
I do, and I'm proud of that.
Absolutely, and I'm also proud to do leadership development training, and I've also led seminars around some community health matters for Barnabas Health.
And we're thankful that you do.
Let's talk about the fact that there's a very significant merger that has taken place between Barnabas Health and Robert Wood Johnson. Talk about that.
Well, we're delighted to talk about that, Steve. Thank you, and it's an honor for me to be here today. Robert Wood Johnson and Barnabas Health are very similar organizations. Culturally, we're committed to our communities, we're committed to graduate medical education, we're committed to building great clinical programs. And in today's world, you need scale and scope in order to accomplish your aspirational goals of not simply providing health care, but helping our communities stay healthy before they need the conventional clinical care that we've done over the years. So when Steve Jones, their wonderful CEO, and I sat down of RWJ sat down to talk about this, we immediately found kinship in our missions, and we found this cultural compatibility. And so we thought, wow, look at the things we could do. We could take our assets, expand our programs, expand our commitment to our communities, and develop the kind of health care that we in New Jersey deserve, and frankly has been evolving over the years.
You know, when I was talking about the community forums that I've been able to moderate with Barry and folks, it's around Newark-centric issues, the greater Newark area. But there are implications beyond that. Talk more specifically, because you talk about scale and scope. Folks might say, hey, that's good for Barnabas, it's good for RWJ, but now let's focus more specifically, because I know you mean, from those conversations we've had, you mean for patients.
Absolutely.
Break it down. A couple of examples.
And by the way, I would expand it beyond patients. I think there's been at least a misnomer about our customer base. Everyone is a consumer or needs to be a consumer. Some become patients. Our obligation is to everyone in the community. We don't have shareholders. Our shareholders are the people who live in our communities. And so our mission has evolved to the point where we evaluate ourselves on how we have enhanced life in our community. And that includes people who are in our institutions and people who we hope never come to our institutions, all of whom typically need to be helped. Now, helping people in that regard, which we consider to be human services, not simply health, helping them in that regard takes an asset base bigger than either of us had individually. It takes a level of coordination and expansion of clinical programs, all of which are available when you have a bigger scale and scope to your organization.
For example?
So if you need specialized social work care, affording that for communities is not easy. But if you can have that spread over multiple communities, you're more capable of affording that. If you have duplicative services, you can make them more efficient, take the very same assets, and resources and apply them to these community services. So this is really about saying, look, here are two big organizations. We think both have distinguished themselves in ordinary clinical care and outstanding tertiary and quaternary care. But now let's focus on the everyday life of those who live in our communities. Not everyone needs a kidney transplant, thank God. Not everybody needs cardiac surgery. But most people have daily challenges where folks that we have working with us, our colleagues, could help if we could mobilize them more effectively. That's what this merger will do.
This merger right now, as we speak in the summer, in August of 2015, the Attorney General's office is reviewing it as we speak. If in fact this merger is approved, RWJ Barnabas Health will become the largest healthcare system in the state, one of the largest in the nation. The term population health is used a lot, and you and I have had this conversation offline. And I've had this with other CEOs of hospital systems. It sounds jargony to me. What is it, A? And B, how is the implementation of this thing called population health played out through this merger?
Well, it is jargony. You know, we in healthcare love acronyms and we love all kinds of voguish nomenclature, but the truth is population health should be descriptive of a new mission for healthcare providers, which detaches the healthcare providers from exclusively delivering conventional clinical care, but now looking into the population, the consumer base, and asking themselves, what can we do to help you? And can we provide social support? Can we provide human services support?
For example, again?
So you have many families, particularly in urban areas, who find it difficult to reconcile their income to the needs of their children and their families. You have multi-generational issues that aren't resolvable simply by some board-certified individual. A social worker, a human service perspective will help a family like that deal with these pressures. I think everybody has a certain level of pressure. Those with more resources find it easier to meet those challenges and pressures. Those without haven't yet gotten an infrastructure where we can help support those social and human needs. That, to me, is population management. On the clinical side, we're able to say to people, look, it's better if you stay healthy. It's, you know, if you show up in our emergency department, obviously it's business for us, but the real goal is allow us to help you stay
How do you
healthy.
keep them out?
Well, you talk to them in an effective way, which candidly I don't think any of us have yet invented, but you talk to folks in an endearing, embracing way about better nutrition, about a better lifestyle when it comes to activity, on the theory that we're going to avert illness. We're not going to keep everybody perfectly healthy, but we are going to avert a certain percentage of the illness and conditions that overtake people. That population health, the combination of managing people's potential clinical needs and offering social support for human concerns, that should be population management.
Is population health or population management, whatever we're going to call it right now, is it harder in Newark, New Jersey?
Very much so. I mean, I think population management, to a certain extent, is challenged by resource level. And if you look at Newark and other urban areas, if you want to immediately enhance healthcare, cure poverty. I don't think, you know, we're not that presumptuous. But we can, in fact, help folks avert illness. We can contribute to the economic development of urban centers. But the challenges in the urban areas are much different than the challenges in other areas. And frankly, every demographic and population cohort is different. Seniors have certain requirements that aren't fully met right now. And those who live in rural areas and those who live in suburban areas have different needs. Population health is supposed to address those needs, presumably setting priorities so we deal with the most important and difficult issues first.
Before we let you out here, Barry, real quick, in the city of Newark and around the city of Newark, Barnabas Health has which healthcare institutions?
Newark Beth Israel Medical Center, Claramas Medical Center, and in Essex County we have St. Barnabas Medical Center. And Essex County, which is a spectacular county, I'm born and raised here, we think we can even improve the lifestyles of those who live in not only Newark, but the greater Essex County area.
And there'll be many counties that RWJ Barnabas Health covers. In fact, we are talking about the counties of Hudson, Essex, Union, Middlesex, Mercer, Somerset, Monmouth, and Ocean counties. That will be the footprint, and we'll follow the story as it's with the Attorney General's office now. Barry, thank you for joining us.
Thank you,
Barry.
Steve.
Stay
It's
right
always
there.
a pleasure.
Newark at a crossroads at NJIT, a great institution. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
To see more one-on-one with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato PhD and follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
Chris Siversen is executive chef and owner of BURG. What is BURG?
BURG is a burger shop coming to Newark very soon, the next few weeks. Really exciting project. It's a little standalone restaurant in the middle of Military Park, which just went over an amazing renovation.
Let's put this in perspective. This isn't just some burger shop. I mean, this is a big deal. And people say, why is it a big deal? Why is it significant that they're doing this in Newark? There aren't a whole lot of these kind of places, right?
Yeah, no, not too many. You know, and we really thought that the opportunity presented itself at the right time.
Who's the we? Put that in perspective.
The we is myself, my business partner, and the team behind our current project, which is Maritime Parc. Were approached on this opportunity, and when we went by and saw the location and saw the revitalization that's going on in the heart of Newark around Military Park.
What do you see?
You see a mix of everything. I mean, it's amazing the wide range of people that go through that park in a day, between the colleges and the businesses and the local people, and I mean it's really got this energy that I felt was unlike anything else. You've got NJ Parc across the street, you've got Prue Center a couple blocks away. There's an awful lot of passage of people.
It's interesting, you know, this series, Newark at a Crossroads, we've talked to so many different people, you know, Mayor Baraka and others who have different perspectives on things. But you're not a Newarker.
No.
I mean, so you've seen a lot of other places. Mm-hmm. You're an executive chef, you're a business person, you've seen other cities, you've seen different communities. What had you heard about Newark? You're smiling as I asked.
Yeah.
Before you really got to know what you know now?
Well, I think the stigma behind Newark is not necessarily a positive one, coming from the outside, coming from...
Where'd you grow up?
I was born in Brooklyn, raised in Long Island, went to school in Albany, lived in Manhattan, and somehow I crossed the river.
Hold on, it's so interesting. So you didn't grow up far away from here.
No.
But for those of us who actually grew up in New Jersey, but for me, I grew up in Newark, New York always seemed so far away.
Yeah.
Did Newark seem far away for you?
Yeah. You know,
like, why would I go there? Far away?
Why would I go there? I had relatives growing up in New Jersey, and I always like, oh, we got to go to New Jersey this weekend. It felt like it was just an eternity.
Did you really say that about us?
About you guys. I didn't want to give up my license when I had to change over, but I've been here since 2002, and it's fantastic. Yeah.
But the difference between the perception and the reality. Talk about that.
The perception and the reality. So I think when we stood in the middle of Military Park in 2013, when we were first approached, and we looked at the park, it was in disarray, and we just said, like, why are they asking us to do this? And then we went through business plans, and then we went through different propositions of what was going on in the area, and we saw Prudential Center was building Prudential was building another tower, and we saw NJ Parc, and we did a walk of the area and saw the schools and the bustle that was going on.
Did you realize that our partners in public broadcasting, NJTV, that were right around the corner?
Right,
did you know that?
I did.
See?
And I said to myself, this is a gold mine.
That's how
what
you
it
knew,
is.
right? But the buzz is palpable.
The buzz is palpable. And I said, if they can pull off what they're saying they're going to pull off, and I really did believe them with their track record. We were approached by the Biederman Group, who operate Bryant Park in New York, and you look at what that was.
Yeah, we had Biederman here, right? Biederman here, right? Yeah,
I mean,
put that in
amazing.
perspective. Put Bryant Park, because Bryant Park over on 6th Avenue, right? People don't realize, because they do Fashion Week, they go, oh, Fashion Week, Bryant Park. Bryant Park wasn't always Bryant Park.
No, and now it is, the true center of the city. That is, you go there at lunchtime and there's 1,000 people in the park at least. You know, there's, like you said, fashion shows and skating rinks and vendors and everybody else. And it's a hip, hot area to be.
Could you see, I'm not going to say Bryant Park, could you see something comparable?
I can see definitely
In Military Park.
I can see the little brother or sister of Bryant Park. I think to be a Bryant Park, you would have to be in a much bigger city.
You need scale.
You need scale, but I do think the potential absolutely is there, and without a doubt.
Describe your place. What's it going to be?
So, you know, we're in the restaurant business. I'm a chef, so I can't just go in and say I'm going to open up a cheap little burger joint. So it definitely is my take on doing a combination of fast food and a little bit of Shake Shack, a little bit of fine dining, but all rolled into a fun experience. You know, we have a great designer who came in and really detailed the place for us. It looks fantastic. Stephanie Goto, who's done Corton and Aldea and Morimoto and Budokan in New York. She's fantastic. She did Maritime Parc.
By the way, put Maritime Parc in Jersey City in perspective.
So Maritime Parc
We'll come back to
is
Newark.
a 22,000 square foot restaurant and catering space in Liberty State Park, waterfront in a marina facing Manhattan, and just happened to be there one day when I saw a sign that said space for rent, and I said, maybe I can do this. And went out and found investment money, and 2 months later I opened up an amazing location. Fantastic.
You love Jersey, don't you? Jersey City, Newark.
Jersey City, Newark. I mean, we keep saying like, what are we doing?
Be next.
It could be. Yeah.
So come back over here. So the burger joint, your place. What's around it matters, right? The critical mass. Talk about that, because you talk about NJ Pac, you talk about the colleges, you talk about everything going on around it. What kind of traffic, what kind of folks do you expect to come by?
I think it's going to be very similar to what we do now in Maritime Parc, where we're in a park. You've got lots of tourists. You've got lots of people from all walks of life coming through, every economic scale, every societal scale, and I think that's the same thing with Newark. I think with the student population, the business population, the local population, NJ Pac, Prue Center, you've got major hotels in the area. I mean, Audible.com a couple blocks away. You have a very wide net.
Are we talking about gourmet burgers here? What are we talking?
Yeah, we're talking gourmet, but we're talking approachable gourmet. We're talking great price point. You know, we're anywhere from $8.50 to $12 for a burger. And hand-cut fries, and we're doing really great, custom ice cream flavors and little fried donuts. And
you're excited about this?
You know what? I am extremely excited about this, because as I created the menu and I put the whole concept together and I went through the recipe testing, and each burger I did, I liked better than the next. And when I started to see my staff, and you do take it as for what it is when one of your staff members says, "Oh, this is great, chef." You have to say, okay, are they just pandering to me, or is it really good? And obviously I trust my taste buds, but I'm really excited because I'm so excited about the food and the quality of what we're doing, and I think we've hit a really great price point. I think we've got the marketing side down. I think we've got the image of the restaurant down. And I think the combination of all of that, we really can hit it out of the park.
Chris Siversen is the executive chef and owner of a place called BURG. He said there's a food boom going on in Newark. It's a hot time to be here, and we're so pleased that you're part of Newark at a Crossroads, which is the name of the series. Wish you all the best. Thanks so much, Chris.
Thank you very much. Pleasure.
Stay there. We're at NJIT. I'm Steve Adubato. This is One on One. We'll be right back right after this.
To see more one-on-one with Steve Adubato programs, visit us online at steveadubato.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Steve Adubato PhD, and follow us on Twitter at Steve Adubato.
We're pleased to be joined by Ryan Haygood, President and CEO, New Jersey Institute for Social Justice. Good to have you with us.
It's great to be here, Steve.
Describe your organization. What do you do?
Sure, the Institute for Social Justice is a social justice organization that advocates on behalf of our urban communities. And we're guided by the belief that people have a radical potential. And our job at the Institute is to identify load-bearing walls of inequality that, if knocked down, will empower people to realize and achieve that radical potential.
We're here in Newark. A series is called Newark at a Crossroads. The issues that you cared most deeply about in Newark, how do they play themselves out? How do they manifest themselves?
I mean, I think what's fascinating about this moment, Steve, is that we're sort of in a national conversation. Our cities across the country are in many ways on fire. and are at a crossroads. But there's also this opportunity, I think,
what?
for incredible realization of what it looks like to have a healthy urban community. So at the Institute, we think a lot about the challenges that communities of color in particular face, urban centers face. We also think about how those challenges present us with opportunities to realize the American dream in a tangible way. And by that I mean to think about ways to enter the economy in a meaningful way, to have access to a healthy environment that includes a solid education, a place to live, and a meaningful opportunity for employment.
So take a step back. Let's do that first before we do police minority relations or relations between the police and citizens in this community in Newark. Let's talk education.
Sure.
In a few minutes after you leave that seat, the last interview of the day will be with Chris Cerf, former Commissioner of Education in the state, now heading up the public schools in Newark. How directly do you tie the success of the public schools in Newark to the future of those children from those public schools to get jobs?
Sure, I think they're inseparable. I think you know that from K to 3 you learn to read, and then from 3 on you read to learn. And I think what we've got to think about is how do we prepare our young people through our educational processes to enter the workforce meaningfully. Newark is fascinating because in this moment there's an incredible amount of construction happening. And I think people are realizing it as sort of a renaissance. But at the Institute, we think that the renaissance can happen without meaningful local participation.
What does that mean?
What that means is that local residents should share in the revitalization, if you will, that's happening in
So
this
devil's
city.
advocate, we've had all kinds of people come in here and talk about development of hotels, development of high-tech operation incubators, if you will. We're here at NJIT, a lot of activities going on supporting economic development, a whole bunch of great stuff. The Prudential Tower rises.
Sure.
What does it mean to have community engagement? Is it just let's create some jobs for the community? Is that it?
I think that's part of it. I mean, I think part of it is the jobs available to local residents. There's a fascinating statistic in the Newark Master Plan that was created under Cory Booker when he was the mayor in 2012, I think. It talks about how there are approximately 150,000 jobs here in Newark.
Right.
Staggering statistic, though, Steve, that only 10,000 of those jobs are held by local residents. You cannot have a healthy city, a healthy urban community, where so few people who live in the community are able to participate in the renaissance.
So most of the jobs are held by people who don't live here.
That's right. So, I mean, an overwhelmingly disproportionate number of those jobs not held by local residents. And what does that mean if you live in a city where the overwhelming majority of people who work and who benefit from the economic boom that's happening in the city don't flow to the residents in that city?
It's hard for folks to then get excited about the boom.
I mean, I think it's almost impossible. What you often see is that people who live in the community, local residents, are spectators to the renaissance that's happening in their city, and they begin to begrudge what's happening. They don't see it as their own. So the stores that they went to for many, many years, generations even, don't exist because they're being moved in favor of a group of folks who are anticipated to be coming to the city.
Or let's be fair and be clear, sometimes there's nothing that exists, and a store has been empty, a la Haynes, 30, 40 years, the old Haynes building. It's not that there was anything there, Ryan, right? I mean, something's going to be there, like Whole Foods, and that's a big deal.
Whole Foods is a huge deal.
But that's part of the community, no?
Whole Foods is a huge deal, right? But we all know that Whole Foods is one of the most expensive grocery stores in America. So the question is, can local residents afford to shop at Whole Foods? And I love your point, Steve, because if you think about Broad Street, if you and I walked abroad.
Broad Street, for those of you who don't know, we're seen in 6 states. So Broad Street is the main thoroughfare downtown here in the city of Newark.
Sure, and so if you make that right on Broad and go toward the Whole Foods and the Haynes building, it looks very different than if you go to Broad and you make the left. And our position at the Institute is we want to think about, as this renaissance is happening, how do you empower local residents who've been here for generations, for decades, to participate meaningfully in all that's happening in their community?
Shift gears. Police minority relations.
Sure.
And when Ras Baraka, the mayor of the city of Newark, sitting here earlier today, talked about the relationship between the police and the community, he feels it's very important to have the civilian review board where civilians will review incidents that happen between the police and the community, particularly certain controversial arrests. That's the right thing?
Absolutely. The mayor is absolutely right to embrace and advocate for the Citizen Complaint Review Board. Newark having this makes it sort of a model for the rest of the country. We think a lot about how in this moment, Steve, Newark is very similar to Baltimore the underlying socioeconomic challenges that exist in
Could that
Baltimore
happen here?
also exist here. And there's
Could that
absolutely,
happen here?
Absolutely. And this is not hyperbolic. The conditions that exist in Baltimore that led to the protests we saw on television and the violent interaction with police and people in the community that happened there could easily happen here, as it did in the 1967 rebellion here in Newark. And so I think our charge
at the Institute
and here in the city more broadly,
Sure,
and across the state more broadly, is to recognize Baltimore as a cautionary tale. We got to take heed of what happened in Baltimore and think about ways to protect against that happening here. And that Citizen Complaint Review Board is an important step in that direction.
You bullish on the city?
I have great hope in the city of Newark. I've lived here for 15 years. I really think it's a beautiful place. I think the people are incredibly resilient. I think that the nickname Brick City is an important one. I don't think that's a pejorative term. I think that speaks to the resiliency of the people in the city, the real grit and determination that moves us forward. And there's a reason to be hopeful now.
I'll tell you what, it's one thing to talk about brick and mortar and development, but also the development of people, particularly young people, and giving them a reason to be hopeful is at least as important, if not much more. Ryan Haygood is the president and chief executive officer of a great organization called the New Jersey Institute for Social Justice. I want to thank you for joining us here at NJIT and One-on-One.
Thanks for having me, Steve. I appreciate it.
Good stuff.
One-on-One with Steve Adubato has been a production of the CAUCUS Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this special edition of One-on-One with Steve Adubato at NJIT has been provided by NJIT, Prudential Financial's Global Communications Department, United Airlines, TD Bank, PSE&G, Verizon Communications, and by the FIDELCO Group. Transportation provided by Airbrook Limousine, serving the metropolitan New York, New Jersey area. One-on-One with Steve Adubato at NJIT has been produced in cooperation with FiOS One News.
I think at NJIT there are a lot of smart students.
I came to NJIT for mechanical engineering because within state it's one of probably the top 3 schools for engineering.
It sort of creates a friendly competition where you can learn from them.
It's a great academic school.
I feel I'm being challenged, but at the same time I love the classes I'm taking.
The atmosphere of being here is like being at an upstart company. It's that same kind of drive, that same kind of passion.